Professor George Gantzias is pleased to have the opportunity to share a few remarks about cultural policy, digital communication, infocommunication industry and fake news in 13th Conference of the European Sociological Association, UN, Making Europe, Capitalism, Solidarities, Subjectivities. The title chosen for his presentation is Cultural Policy, Digital Communication and Fake News, the Cultural Model to Regulate Fake News. He is afraid he had to fit rather a lot into his presentation, and so some of the arguments are a bit compressed. He has dealt with the development of infocommunication culture, fake news, the public interest, and digital communication in recent cultural and economic crisis. He has also dealt with the role of infocommunication industry, the internet, social media and cultural policy. So, he would like to spend a bit more time to explain about the blockchain model, dynamic real and fake news algorithm, DRFNA, and the 3 Prolonged Action Program mobile application of news production public interest standards MANPPIS. In addition, he analyzes infocommunication culture, infocommunication globalization, infocommunication industry and cultural patterns of dynamic real and fake news. Finally, he would like to outline the relationships between the DRFNA's 3 drivers and the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS to develop a regulatory mechanism and mobile application for monitor and evaluating real and fake news. He pointed out that digital media empowers citizens/users/consumers to have access anywhere and anytime. Within this context, new cultural patterns of infocommunication news production ecosystem are: first, consumerism, signified by brands, refers to an infocommunication culture of consumerism which is directly related to the formation of global capitalist markets to produce news and infocommunication capitalism. Most countries now live under infocommunication capitalism, a sharing of market values to produce news and consumer/users/citizens culture to access news by mobile applications. Second, networked individualism, refers to a set of infocommunication values and beliefs that gives priority to the satisfaction of individual needs and desires. Third, cosmopolitanism, ideological, political, or religious, refers to a small but influential minority of people. There is a consciousness of the shared destiny of the planet we inhabit, be it in terms of the environment, human rights, moral principles, global and local news production interdependency, or geopolitical security. Fourth, multiculturalism, refers to the existence of a multicultural global cultural characteristics of producing global and local news by hybridization under a mix of cultures from different origins, as in the diffusion of real and fake news in an adapted version or remix real and fake news that populate YouTube, Facebook and other media websites. Fifth, infocommunication value of news production, refers to a set of infocommunication norms, values and beliefs that place dynamic news production systems over the individual satisfaction of its members on the basis of public interest principles of news production. He also pointed out that cultural policy and digital communication are changing the way to communicate and to access information in our everyday life. Fake news is a reality in digital communication. The mass media together with social media are making money by producing fake news, that is, stories that have the flavor and style of faithful journalism but are written in bad faith and without care for accuracy. In a world of change, fake news does not emerge passively, at random. According to Tim Cook, the boss of Apple is calling for governments to launch a public information campaign to fight fake news, which is killing people's minds. According to a new survey by Pew Research Center, most Americans suspect that made-up news is having an impact. About 2 in 3 U.S. adults, 64%, say fabricated news stories cause a great deal of confusion about the basic facts of current issues and events. This sense is shared widely across incomes, education levels, partisan affiliations and the most other demographic characteristics. These results come from a survey of 1,002 U.S. adults conducted from December 1 to 4, 2016. Professor Gantzias pointed out that cultural policy in digital communication together with regulatory mechanisms and public interest theories are transforming the production of fake news into new digital propaganda both locally and globally. So, if fake is not real news, then fake news are setting up a new digital propaganda system in info communication globalization. Within this context, cultural policy of real and fake news production ecosystems develops out of digital technology and of people doing things together, because of a collective need of shared passion in info commutation public sphere. The digital process of real and fake news develops out of info communication industries' global and local news production ecosystems when people interact together on physical and digital platforms by finding ways to communicate, produce and share together, and to negotiate differences to create shared meanings of real and fake news. He also pointed out that digital communication is the driving force to create an interactive digital content of real and fake news. So, the digital content of real and fake news production ecosystems is subject to three info communication drivers. First, info communication content of news, ICCN. Digital content of news such as information and data will be dispersed across an info communication landscape, that is in media organizations, cloud computing providers, journalists, etc. The Three Prolonged Action Program (MANPPIS) will establish public interest principles of news production systems and effectively best practice rules for transparency, reliability, accountability and self-regulatory mechanisms in order to monitor the digital context of real and fake news. Second, info communication services of news productions, ICSNP. The media network infrastructure is likely to improve distribution of services by improving the production of news, including introducing public interest principles in their news production systems. Moreover, it will introduce mobile applications and professional media networks blockchain models to develop both a dynamic self-regulatory mechanism of news production both locally and globally. The Three Prolonged Action Program (MANPPIS) will introduce a blockchain model DRFNA to set up a network of professional journalists and users which empower professional regulators of news production and citizens/customers/users to develop a roadmap of global news production system to manage effectively real and fake news in info communication landscape. Third, info communication behavior of news production, ICBNP. Internet of Things, cloud computing services and mobile applications are placing all that news production systems on the info communication multicultural landscape. Digitization process of news is a reality in our everyday life. They enable professionals journalists to track and analyze everything from keystrokes to users' behavior towards digitized content of news and services of digital communication. This brings opportunities for introducing Three Prolonged Action Program (MANPPIS) in order to develop more sophisticated digitized best practice to monitor real and fake news by activating the DRFNA blockchain model. Professor Gantzias pointed out that the above info communication news production info communication drivers are important tools to examine and analyze the digitization process of real and fake news production ecosystem in the info communication landscape. According to Adrian Bisson, in the case of fake news, there are more than 7 categories of fake news production system, but it's a useful starting point. First, satire or parody, no intention to cause harm but has potential to fool. Second, misleading content, misleading use of information to frame an issue or individual. These digital news services don't publish false news, but mislead their audience by portraying the facts in a skewed, biased manner. Third, imposter content, when genuine sources are impersonated. This could be a comedian or publication that deceives its audience by pretending to be or speak on behalf of a real source. It's not harmful if clearly identified and understood by the audience. Fourth, fabricated content. News content is 100% false, designed to deceive and do harm. They publish patently false stories, often referring to celebrities or politicians. Their content is distributed on social media networks like Facebook and Twitter by trusting readers, and they make money by selling clicks to advertisers on Google. Fifth, false connection, when headlines, visuals or captions don't support the content. This is a common complaint against reliable sources of news, who are under increasing pressure to lure victims. The consequence is the existence of false perceptions that a genocide against white people is underway, particularly on farms. Sixth, false context, when genuine content is shared with false contextual information. Publications with strong ideological biases often publish stories that suit their agendas, confirm their prejudices and serve as an echo chamber. Seventh, manipulated content, when genuine information or imagery is manipulated to deceive. Examples could include the selective use of quotations by politicians to suit a predetermined narrative, or the manipulation of photos to aggravate or falsely portray an event or incident. He introduces a new self-regulatory mechanism by using the blockchain model DRFNA for monitor and evaluating real and fake news in info-communication globalization. According to the blockchain model DRFNA, the three drivers, which they contribute to monitor and evaluate real and fake news, are: first, identity process of news, IPN, the process of creating the specific identity of news production ecosystem by planning, organizing, implementing, monitor and evaluating real or fake news. Second, mobile applications of evaluating news production, MAENP, the process of using digital technologies and mobile applications to produce, manage and access news. Mobile applications to identify real and fake news content by using the DRFNA blockchain model to produce, manage and access news content anywhere and anytime, by everyone. Third, global impact factor of real and fake news production, GIFRFNP. The process evaluates real and fake news by setting up an index of local and global impact factors about reliability, transparency and public interest principles. The Global Index for News Production Ecosystems. Within this context, the GIFRFNP consists of a. Global and Local Index of Public Interest Principles of News Production, GLIPIPNP, b. Identity Index of News Production, IINP, c. Multicultural Index of Real and Fake News Production, MITRNP, d. Global and Local Reliability Index of News Production, GLRINP, d. Global and Local Transparency Index of News Production, GLTINP. He pointed out that it is very difficult to create a global self-regulatory mechanism of real and fake news nowadays due to the lack of global public interest principles of news production systems. Therefore, the introduction of a three-pronged action program MANPPIS is important to activate mobile applications to monitor and evaluate real and fake news. The diagram shows that the three-pronged action program MANPPIS consisted of: first, public interest production of news, PIPN. This action program aims to create a clear identity of news production system both globally and locally by using digital technologies, mobile applications, info-communication platforms, social media networks and digital content providers, etc. The PIPN action program could attract a new media investment to develop public interest mobile applications to monitor and evaluate news production process. The objective of this innovative action program is to set up a dynamic info-communication process of real and fake news production ecosystem. Second, info-communication process of news production, ICPNP. This action program aims to organize a strategy, implementation criteria and evaluation system to process news as valuable cultural product in global media organizations. The ICPNP creates a target global media investment program to identify a. Global and local impact factors of news production ecosystem, b. Public interest principles of news production systems, c. Competitive advantages of news production process and d. Comparative advantages of news production's process in a world of change. Third, News Production Investment Plan, NPIP. This action program aims to introduce a global impact factor of news production systems, GIFNPS, which monitor and evaluate the local touch with global reach value of news production process by introducing the DRFNA blockchain model. The DRFNA blockchain model is using DRFNA's 3 axes to evaluate new productions of real and fake news in infocommunication landscape. Professor Gantzias points out that both the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS and the DRFNA blockchain model are important methodological tools in managing and financing news production systems both globally and locally. Within this context, the DRFNA axes define a cube-shaped probability space, where a local touch with global reach, reliability of news process, transparency of news production systems, and effective public interest principles of news have a positive or negative impact on both global and local media investment. Within this context, the white spot in the upper right-hand corner of the cube represents the maximum likelihood that both of global and local media investment will occur. The blockchain model assumes that a high level of reliability of news process, RNP, a highly appropriate transparency of news systems, TNS, and highly effective public interest principles of news production, PIPN, are necessary for the expected target media investment to occur. Finally, the figure presents the 3 basic factors, reliability, transparency and public interest principles, that, when taken together, can make news production process more reliable and valuable as a global or local media investment in infocommunication globalization. New production ecosystem, which have been active in Greece and Europe for nearly 2 centuries, have been managed and financed through specific out-of-date media investment models. In recent crisis, global and local media investors should be able to have practical solutions to the following question. Why should global or local media investors seriously consider evaluating and monitoring real and fake news by investing to the DRFNA blockchain model and the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS? In conclusion, Professor Gantzias pointed out that the DRFNA model together with the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS provides a new way of setting up a global and local impact factor index to monitor and evaluate real and fake news. Therefore, the activation processes of the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS are probably give both global and local media investors competitive and comparatives advantages, which are, first, flexibility of their global of local media investments, the ability to develop infocommunication investment tools to finance their news production systems by using the DRFNA blockchain model with local touch and global reach impact. Second, scalability of their global of local media investments, the ability to invest in the 3 Prolonged Action Program MANPPIS and to participate actively by creating a global impact factor index of news productions ecosystems that is GIFRFNP as methodological tool to monitor and to evaluate the production process of real and fake news both globally and locally. Third, survivability their global of local media investments, the ability to monitor and evaluate real and fake news productions systems in a world of change by investing in developing the DRFNA blockchain model for news productions.